Welcome to Freedom of Speechless. We are here today and really super excited to share a little bit more about what's inside the brains of our non-speaking individuals out there. Due to apraxia, you'd see it in autism, Down syndrome, other diagnoses alike. So just to get started, I'm Katie Custer. I am owner and a practitioner, spelling to communication practitioner at Mind Over Body. And
I'm Isabel Custer. I'm her daughter. I'm also a spelling to communicate practitioner here at Mind Over Body.
Yes. So we're working together to really get the word out there through these non-speaking individuals. So I'm just going to start by bringing us to a place where we can all just imagine being in the shoes of a non-speaking individual. So let's just kind of, whether you got to close your eyes to imagine yourself going in there or just visualize yourself walking into a room and being the absolute one person that nobody says hello to. They say hello and they greet every single person that comes with you, but they don't say hello to you. You feel unheard, unseen, but you're understanding that nobody really quite knows how to interact with somebody that they do not understand is competent, which we will talk about presuming competence. And that's the second thing I'm going to say is before we get out of that imaginary state, let's think about the fact that maybe you do get approached. But here, my daughter's 22 years old, and instead of approaching her as a 22-year-old, I would say, well, hello, how are you? Look at these beautiful gold earrings that you have. Did you have a good day? Yes, you did? Oh, wonderful. Oh. And so one or the other is a nightmare. Would you not agree? Was that very uncomfortable, even though you might have known it was coming?
It was terrible. It was terrible.
I might do that to her just because she is my daughter, actually on accident anyway. So parents are probably the number one culprit in doing this, whether we have a neurodivergent or a neurotypical child. But we really want to be very conscious of this in the community, that we are not approaching our non-speaking, apraxic individuals in a non-age appropriate fashion. So we're just going to start by just saying we want to look at age appropriate. If the child is 2, then that would be appropriate. Absolutely.
Right.
If the child is 22, we see that as not appropriate. So, this topic matters because we're breaking down barriers. We're trying to bring inclusivity. There's a few statements that we're going to discuss later, straight from the letterboards of our non-speakers that communicate on our letterboard, spelling to communicate, low technology, low AAC technology, and just what it takes to actually even have them feel comfortable being included themselves, right? As we've discussed. So, who are our non-speakers? These are apraxic individuals. You can go back to our last podcast and watch Understanding What Apraxia Is. And would you say the number one thing that people bypass, what would you say? Let me just ask you. I'm not going to give you that. I'm putting you on the spot here. What would you say is the number one thing when somebody sees a autistic, non-speaking, Down syndrome individual? Those are probably the most classified. So that's, what I'll refer to here. But any apraxic individual, what would you say the first thing that they're thinking about that individual is?
Like that the people are thinking about the non-speaker?
Yes.
That they're not cognitive or they don't understand what's going on.
Okay. So absolutely what I was looking for.
I didn't want to say it in other words. But
no, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That is what we are here for. We're getting the truth out. The truth may hurt a little bit, but the truth will set them free. That is why we are freedom of the non-speaker. We are that First Amendment right for the non-speaker, freedom of speechless, and we're giving them that speech. And that is the number one thing. People assume that they're not cognitive. So nobody's ever walking up to you at 22 and doing that, are they?
No, that's how I speak to the little kids I babysit.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And because you show a neurotypical body profile,
right,
they're assuming that you are cognitive and that you are brilliant.
Or just because I speak.
Maybe you're wearing scrubs.
Yeah. Right.
People are looking at the outside always. And so let me ask you, between you and Angelo, who is a 19-year-old non-speaker, who has a higher grade point average? I'm sorry.
Not me. Not me.
Hey, not me either, okay? So, it's not always about wearing the scrubs, right? Isabel's brilliant. She's got wonderful skills that she brings to the table. She's going to school and educating herself further and further and further in this field to help our non-speaking individuals with apraxia. That is not in contest here. But when we see Angelo, who's a non-speaker, we need to understand that his grade point average, that he has the same brilliance in a different field. He's going to neuro research, neurobiology research, I believe, in college. And that's where he's, I can't even get that straight, let alone.
It might be biomedical, maybe.
Thank you. Biomedical neurology. That sounds a
right.
lot.
We can't even wrap our heads around it because we would never go do that because we're not.
Well, I mean, well, that's not true. We may do that.
I personally wouldn't.
Yes. I would love to do that, but maybe that's just not where God has led me. He's led me here to speak to you guys about how we're going to speak to our non-speakers who are doing that. And that's one of the reasons it's really important. One of our 6-year-old's moms said it in one of her testimonies that these kids are going to be the people that change the world.
Right.
And it is because they can understand the content very quickly. And so, us bypassing them, not saying hello to them, treating them like a baby when they're 22 years old, or they're a full-grown adult, or a teenager that wants a fist bump instead of, cuddles on the face, or, being very, it's hard for me. My son hugged me the other day and I was like, I was in my glory. He's 17. And, so we have to imagine that we would speak directly to them with the consciousness of age appropriate engagement. So, that is really, I guess I like to number things. I guess number 1 would be presuming competence, knowing that they are competent. Remembering that apraxia is a brain to body disconnect. My brain says, grab my coffee right now. I want a sip. I want a sip. I want a sip. Instead, my body reaches for and grabs something else. So that is a brain telling my body to do something that is automatic for me. You guys know that, right? It happens all day, right? It's automatic for me. But instead of my body responding to the assignment of the brain, it does its own thing. And so for us to assume that they don't have a very cognitive assignment in their brain, that they want an approach, they want an engagement, they want somebody to say hello at an age appropriate level. That's very important to get out there to the world,
Yeah. And we have to be the people that help them with that, especially if they're, non-speaking like the ones that we work with. So
absolutely. So let's give a little bit of guideline to what they have told us, as far as, how do you speak to a non-speaker? It's hard. It's not the easiest thing to do. And it's okay. We discussed this with our friends that are non-speaking and apraxic, and we love these discussions with them because they understand that it's hard for us. But, making eye contact, not staring them down, but just a quick, hey, how are you? Right. And not necessarily waiting for a response. Like,
right.
Like,
are you going to talk?
Yeah.
Hey.
Now, are you waving?
Yeah. Right.
And we don't need to assume that they're going to respond. I actually have said hello to people that are neurotypical and assumed they were going to respond. They did. And they did not. And, I took offense maybe, but I immediately did not because of where I've been placed in this non-speaking community, right, that I don't assume that anybody even heard me to begin with or can respond appropriately at that moment because of overstimulation, sensory disorders. Maybe they were hearing something else. And so it's not up to us to get offended, or I should say to
expect a response from them?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's more or less expecting them to understand. Like, that's where the presuming competence comes in, because if we're sitting here talking to them, we're expecting that they understand and presuming that they understand, which they can definitely tell in the tone of your voice or the way that you're talking to them. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, so the truth is that immediately by presuming competence and saying hello,
right,
you know that they heard you. You know that they're saying, typically, most likely, hello back.
Right.
We don't have to be like, oh, you said hello back. We don't have to assume anything. But like you said, we also shouldn't expect it.
Right.
So be patient, be observant. You know, there may be some body language that this individual uses. All motor profiles are different. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say hi to some of my non-speakers and, you know, I'll give them a second. They'll turn around and give me like a little hand gesture as like a wave or something. So, I mean, I already knew that they heard me, but like she said, be observant. They all respond in different ways. Maybe it's not at all. Maybe it's a little hand gesture. Maybe some of them do speak like how our one or Sage speaks. Like he'll say hi, you know, he'll say hi back.
Mm-hmm. And the good thing that we saw with him after really engaging with, presuming that he knows to say hello, presuming that he knows who I am, right? But he used to come in and say, hi, Isabel. I presumed that he knew I was Katie and that it just came out wrong because his body did not follow the directive of his brain, right?
Maybe he was looking at me or something and it just came out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So now here's the great part. After about a year of being into a myelinated state with some of the things that we do innovatively at Mind Over Body and working with him, now he'll come in and he'll look at me and go, hi, Katie. And he's able to actually resequence
that thought. Yeah.
Yes. And so, but you know, if I was constantly going, oh, he doesn't know who I am, like, oh, well, my name's Katie. He's going to be like, I know your name is Katie. Don't you believe in me yet? I mean, it's been a year. I have, you know, and so, so that's kind of where we are with that, you know, do have boundaries. Not everybody likes to be touched and hugged and felt, and some of them do, and some of them don't. And that's just like every human being out there. So, you know, give them boundaries. They do have sensory disorder. And non-speakers alike will say they don't need to be spoken loudly to. You know, a lot of the times we're raising our voices like, how you doing?
I wouldn't even like that.
No, I mean, I might do that naturally to you. But, you know, it is really important that we control our tone. We control our rhythm. You know, we're not sitting there sing-songing to them and all this stuff. You know, these are individuals. They're human beings. I mean, the more I listen to myself, it makes me like chuckle. Like, is this even a topic that
like,
should be discussed?
Just be common sense.
You know, but okay. So moving on so that we can just move on and not go into that. Let's just go into some do's and don'ts. Okay. So be kind and patient. I mean, that should be absolutely done without being said. Wait for a response without rushing. Without staring in their face. Also not expecting a response.
Yeah.
Use clear and natural speech with age-appropriate engagement. So we're looking for, how old are you? We will speak to you clearly. We're not going to cut words down because you think that they can only understand in a 2-word sentence. That is going into a life story, which we're going to go into a few of those next, but with Lisa and Sage, and how the professionals around Sage said, you know, he only can comprehend in a 2-word sentence. Well, we knew differently because he was actually communicating on a letterboard in multiple phrases and letting us know that he tried hot chocolate and did not like it. And just giving us opinions and communication and contribution way past 2 words.
Right.
And that was just, we were so blessed that his mom knew that, oh, I'm going to presume competence. My son is at the age, I believe he was at 8. He definitely knows more than a 2-word sentence.
Right.
And he is the one who engages us to say, oh, hi, Katie, or hi, Isabel. So
Mhm.
he actually has speech, and they were still saying this about him. So, you know, we have to change that stigma right away. They don't need 2-word sentences. They understand everything. They're expert listeners. They know more than us. Their vocabulary is immense, and it's hard to keep up with that. And that's where that brilliance is probably difference between you and him. When I went there earlier, it's not about what you can accomplish versus what he can accomplish.
No.
It's about the language is so much deeper within these kids because they're expert listeners. They hear it.
Imagine
They
just
see
listening
it
all the time.
all day.
That's all that they can do. You know what I mean? Is listen and learn. Eventually, that's going to catch up to them.
Absolutely. So, you know, a few stories just to kind of go into some testimonies. First of all, like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Freedom of Speechless. We are going to be bringing you from the inside of the minds of non-speakers. You know, we're going to try to keep it within 20 minutes so you can listen to it in the car. We will have some experts come on or some moms come on and some experiences and live testimonies and stuff like that throughout as well. But this is the way that we can bring freedom to the speechless, is just sharing this on multiple platforms and really going big to get the understanding out there. So, so a few stories. Angelo, we talked about, he's 19 years old. He told us that he understands that people don't understand. So although it may be uncomfortable at times, his understanding of the lack of understanding in others brings him peace, that we just don't know what we don't know. So understand that they do understand that we don't understand. And they give so much grace to the, hi, how are you? Or my personal experience with him, putting him in a 3-year-old class when he was in 6th grade in Sunday school. You know, it's okay. He said, oh, I forgive you. You didn't know any better. He was able to communicate that now. Back then he could not because he didn't have that device that he's been trained on now. But, you know, that it's just amazing that they understand, and they're going to be more understanding than us, which is why it's so important to them that we get this word out. So my friend Donna, she's in a wheelchair. She has limited speech. And people walk up to her all the time. They either do not know she's there, so she gets all the gossip. I let the secret out. And she hates it, but she knows what to pray for because she's just such an amazing woman of God. Or they will speak to her like she is just a baby, or she's not in there because she's in a wheelchair. And, you know, then she'll start to speak because she does have fragmented speech, and it does come out limited, and it's hard for her to get it out, but she can get it out. And she's a miracle in herself. And with that being said, she will speak to them on such a high level that instantly it's like, oh, wow, I just spoke to her like a 6-year-old, and she just gave me a huge revelation of, you know, the word of God, or, you know, whatever. So that's a pretty awesome story. Josh, so I'll talk about Josh a little bit. They asked him after he spoke to the pastors, and the pastors were able to see that he had expressed a deeper a want to learn a deeper revelation of the Word of God. So Josh was asked in his next session by me, what would you like to join the service, the actual regular service, instead of going into the special needs class every week? He said, I'm tied in a knot about it. I would like to create awareness with my video, which we created and I can post, so everyone has the chance to understand that I need that deeper instrumental teaching to heal. I can see this happening after the breakfast. So, you know, he also expressed prior that it would be nice when people understand the brain to body disconnect and can see us, them, through the Heavenly Father's eyes, not the outside, but the inside. And so, you know, I think that there's a huge want of inclusivity with this community, but there's also a need of education and awareness of how to be approached. And if
How to
they're
make them feel included.
how to make them feel included. You know, if they're making a noise or doing something that maybe is not necessarily something that you or I would do, understanding that their body would not be doing it if they could help it as well.
Right.
In that,
if they had that brain to body connection. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's it. So we're going to bring a call to action out there, you guys. We're going to challenge you as listeners to, you know, approach a non-speaker, or, you know, maybe not approach a non-speaker, but if you have the opportunity to say hello to a non-speaker. So I would say engage with a non-speaker in a hello, how are you kind of way. And understand they may not give you a response, that they are very capable of multiple thoughts. So they are most likely greeting you in a very professional manner, which is how they have expressed that to us, and saying hello back. And as a caregiver, real quick on that last note, and we'll go to a whole nother podcast on this, don't answer for them all the time. We don't always know what's in their head. Not everybody needs words in their space. Let their space be their space, and let them have that thought process that connects with the community without us presuming what they're thinking. And that is just huge for all of us. We have to learn to do it. We're still learning to do it. But you know, it's pretty amazing once you understand that their thought process is so easily tapped into with the right therapies and the right innovation and the right outlets, that we can actually just find out ourselves what they're thinking. And that's been the best part of this journey. Would you not agree?
I do agree.
Yeah. So we'll also be talking, probably the next time you see Isabel and I together, probably, on our podcast, we will be addressing the injurious and self-injurious behaviors, how to approach those, how to break sequencing and break loops in those. Again, that is something that they never mean to do. I've never, ever engaged with anybody on the letterboard that said, I meant to do it. It's, again, an impulsivity of the body. So we want to help you understand that too. So until then, like, subscribe, and share, and we hope you enjoyed. God bless.